going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I'm your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror, Volume 7, Day 14, coming at you live. Alright, so we are going to take it back to 2018 with a film that I believe just got released maybe this year or maybe last year. I'm not even sure when the Blu-ray came out. It is a Portuguese film produced and distributed by Troma Entertainment. Now, I know what you're thinking, oh, fuck, seriously, Moods? We're doing some Troma? But yes, I know Troma films can be very, very hit and miss, whether it be one of their straight production films or whether it be a film they pick up just for distribution. It is what it is. This one always sounded really interesting to me. I read about it a while ago, and I was like, you know, it sounds pretty cool. And it is called Mutant Blast. Yes, like I said, it is a film from Portugal. This one is actually subtitled. It's in Portuguese and French, and so you do have to read the subtitles. Yeah, so get into the premise of this one. Basically, this one follows our main character, Maria. She's kind of deflected out of the military after a zombie apocalypse kind of breaks out at this military branch, at this military cell. And she has basically kind of stolen their creation. The military's been creating these super soldiers, these super inhuman strength, the military killing machine type soldiers and stuff like that. So when the zombie apocalypse breaks out, she breaks out with this guy. She's being pursued by the military, of course, because they want their super soldier back, because he was one of the ones that actually made it through and lived. Because basically what had happened is the zombie apocalypse has been created from all the failed experiments by the military. So she's out there, she runs into this guy named Pedro's kind of a funny character, because the night before he was partying, he got super drunk, zombie apocalypse killed all of his guests and friends, he wakes up in the morning with a super hangover to a full-blown zombie apocalypse, and he runs into Maria, and then they have to basically survive together, you know, survive this zombie apocalypse while they're being pursued by the military to get their killing machine back. Then something happens in the way of a nuclear blast, and things kind of change from there. So that's the premise of the film. Now, my thoughts on this one. This is a fucking ton of fun. Tons and tons of fun. So I didn't realize that Troma had actually produced this movie, so I just figured it was going to be like really, really low budget and stuff like that. Even if they did produce it, probably super low budget. What we do learn in the intro, because Lloyd always does these great intros for these Troma films and stuff like that, is that the Portuguese government actually gave Troma a lot of money to produce this film. And it shows right away. The production level on the movie is actually really high. It looks great. It sounds great. There's tons and tons of blood and gore and practical effects throughout the whole movie, which was very surprising to me. I was expecting it to be CG, but no, there's tons and tons of practical effects, which is awesome, which is really cool, especially in a zombie film, because you really don't want a ton of shitty-ass CG effects in zombie films. It kind of ruins it at times, but it's cool. It's cool to see that they put in the work and they did that way. The acting is really good in this. It, you know, like I said, it looks great. The premise is actually pretty fun. You know, they just kind of did this one very, very right. There's a lot of good things that are going on in this one. You know, it being a Troma production and stuff, you're thinking, man, this is going to be super over the top, silly, goofy, straight up comedy. Yes, there is comedy in the film, mixed with a lot of social commentary, which is kind of funny. You can take this movie for face value and just kind of watch it, turn your brain off and take it for a zombie film and stuff like that, but you can tell that they are trying to say some things in here. It's actually not overly that goofy, considering some of the stuff I'm going to get into, but like joke-wise, and you know, it's not really goofy, silly, like a lot of other Troma films where you're just kind of like, oh, roll your eyes, you know, where they try to make a movie so bad it's like bad, you know, kind of thing. It's not really like that at all. The first half of the movie is very much them being pursued by the military and having to fight off these zombies. So it is quite gory and stuff like that. And I really like the premise, because there's a lot of head stomps in here where heads are exploding and shit, and people are getting stabbed in the heads, and a lot of crazy shit that's happening and stuff. But I really like the idea that every time they say the word zombie, it gets censored. And it censors when they say it, and it also censors in the subtitles also. I thought that was actually kind of clever. It's just, don't call them zombies, they're not zombies, because in her opinion, they're just basically experiments that have gone wrong. don't think, in the traditional sense of a Romero zombies where they died, they were dead and they rise from the grave. So I think that's what she's referring to, is that they weren't originally dead. They're more just experiments that have gone wrong kind of thing. I really like that. So first half of the film, super gory, zombified, everything is going great. Something does happen with their superhuman killing the soldier and stuff like that. But then about the midway point in the film, when this relationship starts to kind of build between Marie and Pedro, there's a scene where these guys, they basically try to rape them, and then a nuclear blast happens. So what happens is the military general basically tells his lackeys or his board or whatever to drop some bombs in these certain areas, these certain sectors, to get rid of the zombies, because they don't want a zombie apocalypse. They don't want a zombie outbreak. So they kind of misread what he says, and they drop nuclear bombs in these areas. So everything in these areas gets fucking mutated. So they're about to get raped by these fucking crazy civil whatever, and they wake up. And everyone's like mutated. She wakes up, she's got an ear on her neck, and he's got a fucking rat as an arm. Like a living, breathing rat. And I'm just like, what the hell just happened? So at this point in the film, everything turns. Like, now their survival is just crazy, because everything they run into is like giant rats, and there's huge, giant mutated talking lobsters and dolphins and mutated ducks, and like, there's all this crazy shit that's happening. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually a lot of fun. Within all this ridiculousness that's happening during the survival, there's a lot of great dialogue too. There's a lot of fun dialogue. There's some funny stuff. There's some in-depth kind of like, commentary stuff that's happening. Man, the rants that the giant mutated lobster have is so fucking funny about how he hates dolphins. And I kept thinking South Park. I'm like, dolphin. But no, he's just going on and on about like how the lobsters are, they're just mistreated because they're all ugly and shit, and people love dolphins, and he keeps calling them motherfucker. Oh, fuck, it's so funny. I was pissing myself, man. There's some really good dialogues and stuff. Even when the film kind of slows down in the middle, like, there's still a lot of really great dialogue and shit like that. And there's like really bizarre a dream sequence that Pedro has, and it goes into this medieval times, and there's a lot of cool things that are happening in the film. Again, production value was way higher than I ever thought it was going to be, which really added to the element of the film. It's your very kind of typical setup with military experiments and zombie apocalypse and stuff like that, but there's a lot of cool things that are happening here. It runs about 80 minutes. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's got a great soundtrack, a great synth soundtrack. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but that sounds really good in the film too, and it really kind of adds to it. But yeah, it's as a whole, it kind of feels like two different movies, where you have this zombie apocalypse, and in the second half you don't really get as many zombies, but you get all these weird ass mutated characters with all these weird dialogues and all these weird scenarios and things that are happening, shit like that. Lloyd Kaufman actually does make a cameo in the film. He actually plays a zombie in one of the scenes in the first half of the film, which I thought was kind of cool. Very typical Lloyd to show up in one of his productions and things like that, so that's kind of cool. The one downfall it's not a knock on the film, it's more about the post-production with the subtitles themselves. They're way off. I know you read them anyways. If you can just read them for how they are. But it's funny because somebody will say something about 3 seconds after, then the subtitle will come up, and then somebody else will say something. So if you're trying to figure out who's saying what, it might be an issue. It's pretty easy to follow along if you just kind of read the dialogues, but the subtitles suck. They are way off in this. It's very annoying. And it seems like it actually kind of got worse as the film progressed too. I don't know. It kind of drives me nuts because I watch a ton of movies with subtitles, and when they're that off, you're just like, oh, fuck. Like, seriously? How does somebody not notice this in post-production? Like, you pop in the movie, you notice right away that they're just way off. They're way too late. I just don't understand. It's not really that hard to get them correct and stuff, but it is what it is. But all in all, Mutant Blast is a fucking blast. I mean, really, man, like the first half of the film is like, it's got a totally different feel than the second half. And then of course they're being pursued again by the military in these huge mutant, superhuman strength, just creations and stuff. That's kind of cool. I like how that one goes at the end and stuff like that. So, but not as ridiculous comedy-wise as you think, though. Like, really, it's hard to explain. Really, it is hard to explain, but Mutant Blast is definitely a full-out blast, pun intended. So if I had to rate this one, I'm coming in at a solid 8 out of 10 on this one. It is fun as hell. I was not expecting this thing to be as high produced as it was. Like I said, you know, the Portuguese government definitely helped out with this one. You can tell the budget went to the effects. And I like that. I like the fact that they did the practical effects, because there's nothing worse than watching zombie movies with shitty ass CG effects. It's like one of the worst things. It's like slashers too. Ugh, terrible. So Mutant Blast, 8 out of 10. Super, super fun. Check it out for all its absurdity. I can't say that word right now, but it's ridiculous, but so much damn fun. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it here for day 14, and I will be back tomorrow, day 15, with a very interesting one. All right, guys, check you later. Deuces!